Recording your adventures is supposed to let you relive the triumph later. But for some climbers, later never came. Only the camera survived to tell their story. Between 2000 and 2024, recovered footage from over 70 climbing deaths has provided investigators with frame-by-frame documentation of fatal mistakes. Studies show that 75% of these recordings captured the exact moment survival became impossible. From wingsuit jumpers whose GoPros recorded their miscalculated flight into granite walls, to climbers whose helmet cameras captured the roar of avalanches seconds before burial, to a mountaineer whose week-long video diary documented his descent into hallucinations while trapped on a death ledge. We begin with the camera that's been missing for 100 years, and the climbers who died searching for it. These weren't random accidents caught on film. They were final performances where the camera became the only survivor, preserving death in digital detail that investigators wish they could unsee. George Mallory wasn't just any climber. He was the man who famously said he climbed Everest because it's there. A legendary British mountaineer obsessed with conquering the world's highest peak. Andrew Irvine was his young, talented climbing partner, skilled with cameras and oxygen equipment. Their 1924 expedition represented the cutting edge of high-altitude mountaineering. June 8, 1924, Mallory and Irvine make their final summit attempt on Mount Everest. They chose to climb without modern safety equipment, relying on wool clothing and primitive oxygen systems. The camera carried by Irvine contained film that could prove they reached the summit first. Their final sighting placed them high on the mountain, moving toward the summit. But then came the moment when triumph turned to mystery. The climbers vanished into the mists of Everest's upper reaches. No distress signals, no calls for help, just silence from the world's highest mountain. Their disappearance launched a century-long obsession with finding the missing film. Mallory's body was discovered in 1999, perfectly preserved by Everest's conditions. The camera was not found with his remains, suggesting Irvine still carries it somewhere on the mountain. Multiple expeditions have died searching for the camera and its potentially historic film. The undeveloped photographs could rewrite mountaineering history if ever recovered. Wally Steck wasn't just any mountaineer. He was the Swiss machine, the fastest climber alive, a legendary speed climber who had revolutionized solo climbing on the world's most dangerous peaks. His social media presence had made him one of climbing's biggest stars. His confident vlogs and technical expertise had inspired millions of followers worldwide. April 2017. Steck prepares for an ambitious project linking Everest and Lhotse without supplemental oxygen. He chose to document his preparation and acclimatization process through detailed video blogs. His final vlogs showed him in perfect physical condition and high spirits. His social media posts radiated the assurance of someone at the peak of their abilities. But then came April 30th, when the Swiss machine finally broke down. Steck was acclimatizing on Nuptse, a technical warm-up for his main objective. The exact circumstances of his fall remain unknown. No cameras were rolling. Out of nowhere, one of the world's most skilled climbers made a fatal mistake. His body was found at the base of a steep face, suggesting a long fall. The man who had documented every triumph left no record of his final failure. The climbing world was devastated by the loss of such an iconic and skilled athlete. His final social media posts became a digital memorial to his confidence and skill. The contrast between his documented preparation and undocumented death was deeply unsettling. Alexander Gukov wasn't just any Russian climber. He was an elite alpinist attempting one of the world's most challenging unclimbed routes. A skilled mountaineer partnered with Sergei Glazunov on the north ridge of Latok 1 in Pakistan. Their objective was a route that had defeated numerous world-class climbing teams. July 2018. Gukov and Glazunov begin their attempt on Latok 1's unclimbed north ridge. They chose one of the most technically demanding and remote routes in the Karakoram. The climb required advanced technical skills and complete self-sufficiency. The pair was experienced and determined, the kind of climbers who specialized in impossible routes. But then came the repelling error that turned triumph into a survival nightmare. Glazunov fell to his death while descending, taking most of their gear with him. Gukov was left stranded alone on a tiny ledge at 6,200 meters with minimal supplies. His only companions were his camera and the growing certainty of death. For 7 days, he recorded his deteriorating physical and mental condition. His footage captured hallucinations, hypothermia, and the gradual breakdown of human sanity. Gukov's week-long video diary provided an unprecedented look at high-altitude survival psychology. His miraculous helicopter rescue came just as his final video entries showed complete mental collapse. When the footage was recovered, it provided researchers with unique data on high-altitude survival limits. Alex Lowe wasn't just any mountaineer, he was widely considered the world's best all-around climber. David Bridges was the professional cameraman documenting Lowe's climbing for a major film project. Their expedition to Shishapangma was intended to showcase Lowe's abilities on camera. October 1999, Lowe and Bridges work on filming Shishapangma, a celebration of life. The filming required them to cross exposed glacier terrain multiple times for different camera angles. Avalanche conditions were present but not considered extreme for experienced mountaineers. Lowe was confident and experienced, the kind of climber who had survived countless dangerous situations. But then came the moment when the mountain decided to write its own script. The camera was rolling as they crossed the glacier below Shishapangma's slopes. A massive avalanche released above them without warning. The footage captured the exact moment they noticed the approaching wall of snow. Out of nowhere, tons of snow and ice engulfed both men as the camera kept recording. The footage cuts to black as the avalanche buries the camera along with its operators. Lowe and Bridges were buried so deeply that their bodies weren't found for 16 years. In 2016, their perfectly preserved remains emerged from the glacier, still carrying their equipment. The recovered footage provided investigators with exact details of how the avalanche developed and moved. Gerard MacDonald wasn't just any climber, he was Ireland's most accomplished high-altitude mountaineer. The 2008 K2 season brought together some of the world's most experienced high-altitude climbers. Multiple climbers were filming their summit attempts, creating a comprehensive video record. August 1, 2008. Multiple teams converge on K2's summit during a narrow weather window. They chose to coordinate their summit attempts to share the dangerous route-finding work. The bottleneck section required fixed ropes and careful timing to navigate safely. The day began with perfect weather and high hopes for multiple successful summits. But then came the Serac collapse that turned triumph into K2's deadliest day. Multiple cameras captured the euphoria of reaching the summit throughout the afternoon. The descent began normally with climbers celebrating their achievement, but as darkness fell, a massive ice serac collapsed above the bottleneck. Out of nowhere, the falling ice severed the fixed ropes that climbers needed for safe descent. Multiple teams became stranded above the death zone without escape routes. MacDonald's final act was attempting to rescue entangled Korean climbers. 11 climbers died in the disaster, making it K2's deadliest single day. The recovered footage from multiple cameras allowed investigators to reconstruct the entire timeline. The 2008 K2 disaster became the most thoroughly documented mountaineering tragedy in history. The Sherpa team wasn't just any group of workers, they were the backbone of Everest expeditions. Multiple team members wore helmet cameras to document their dangerous daily work. Their job involved fixing ropes and carrying supplies through the most dangerous part of Everest. April 18, 2014. The Sherpa team begins their routine work in the Khumbu icefall. They chose the early morning hours when the ice was most stable. Multiple helmet cameras were recording their progress through the dangerous terrain. The team was experienced and careful, the kind of workers who had spent years learning the icefall's dangers. But then came the Serac collapse that turned the workplace into a graveyard. A massive ice tower became unstable without warning. The footage captured the initial rumbling sound as the Serac began to collapse. Out of nowhere, thousands of tons of ice crashed down on the team. 16 Sherpas were killed in seconds as their cameras documented the disaster. The helmet cam footage provided the most visceral documentation of icefall dangers ever recorded. The disaster sparked international debate about Sherpa safety and working conditions. The 2014 avalanche became the deadliest day in Everest history up to that point. 7 different cameras, 7 different final moments, but one haunting truth. The lens captured what human eyes were never meant to see. These weren't random accidents that happened to be filmed. They were final performances where the camera became the only survivor, preserving death in digital detail that plays on repeat forever. The most disturbing part? These cameras outlived their operators, continuing to record long after human hearts stopped beating. They became digital witnesses to the exact moment when skill, experience, and preparation proved insufficient against the forces that kill climbers. In the end, these 7 cases prove that cameras don't just capture memories. Sometimes they capture the moment when memories stop being made.